Welcome to today's analysis. In this explainer, we're diving into a story of, honestly, profound personal transformation. We're going to unpack the core lessons from a book that literally has the power to completely rewire how you approach your daily life. It's called How to Be Disciplined by Sheldon Howe. If you've ever felt like you're just kind of drifting through the days without making any real progress, well, this is exactly what you need. To really grasp the power of this book, I want to introduce you to a guy named Ritik. So Ritik lived alone in this small flat in Delhi. Picture this. It's a freezing cold winter evening, and he's just lying on his bed, mindlessly scrolling through his phone. His job? It was just okay. But deep down, he was plagued by this nagging feeling that he was totally stagnating. He was overwhelmed and honestly just unhappy with where his life was at. We've all been there, right? Staring at the ceiling, wondering why we aren't achieving our dreams. Well, that very night, Ritik stumbled upon a review for Sheldon Howe's book, ordered it on a whim, and wow, it changed the whole shebang. Okay, let's dive right into this highly structured 6-step roadmap. Setting clear goals, developing a routine, embracing self-control, practicing mindfulness, learning from failure, and consistency. These are the exact steps Ritik took to turn his life around. Kicking things off with Section 1, set clear, actionable goals, which is all about finding your direction and motivation. So Ritik always had these grand but kind of vague dreams, like, I want to start a company one day, or I want to be a digital marketing expert. But he had absolutely no actual map to get there. As he was sitting on his balcony with a cup of tea, he read this line, "If you don't know where you are going, you'll never get there." And man, this single quote just shook him awake. It was like looking directly into a mirror. He suddenly realized his lack of progress wasn't because he lacked ambition. It was because he lacked a destination. He literally grabbed a notebook right then and there to change that. He went straight from having these foggy wishes to writing down highly specific targets. Just look at how clear these are. Lose 10 kg in 6 months instead of just get fit. Finish 3 digital marketing courses instead of learn marketing. And what's really profound here is that he even added a relationship goal. Call parents weekly. Why? Because he had this painful realization that in his frantic pursuit of success, he'd completely started ignoring his own mom. But as we all know, writing goals down is really only half the battle. On day 1 of his new life, Ritik sets his alarm for 6 a.m. and proceeds to hit the snooze button until 7:30 a.m. He was furious with himself, but instead of giving up, he went back to the book and applied its next big piece of advice: break massive, overwhelming goals into tiny, manageable steps. So instead of forcing some intense, grueling workout, he started with just 15 minutes of jogging for the first week, then 20 minutes the next week, and then 30. It completely removed the friction of just getting started. I really want you to ask yourself right now, what stops you from taking your own step 1? Is it the sheer fear of that massive goal, or is there a specific distraction pulling you away? Figuring out exactly what holds you back is absolutely crucial. It's the very first key to moving forward. Which brings us perfectly to Section 2, develop a consistent routine, focusing on structuring your day. Once Ritik had his goals locked in, he faced his next massive hurdle, his incredibly messy, totally unpredictable days. He'd sleep late, wake up late, and his weekends would just evaporate into thin air. To combat this, he designed what he called his perfect routine. 6 a.m. wake up, followed immediately by exercise. Work blocks were clearly defined. And the results? By allocating specific times for specific tasks, his focus at the office absolutely skyrocketed. His manager even noticed and praised him for getting an unbelievable amount of work done in a single week. Now, what's really interesting here is the absolute need for flexibility. One Sunday, Ritik's friend Rahul called him up to go watch a movie. Ritik initially panicked. It wasn't in the schedule, but the book taught him that a routine isn't a prison, right? It's a tool for balance. He learned to build free time into a schedule, realizing that true discipline actually creates the freedom to enjoy your life entirely guilt-free. Moving right along to Section 3, embrace strict self-control, which is all about resisting those pesky temptations. So even with a great routine, Ritik eventually hit a wall. One evening, totally exhausted from work, he sat down to relax and ended up mindlessly watching TV serials for 3 straight hours. He realized he had a serious problem with temptation. He was constantly battling between short-term pleasures, endless scrolling, late-night parties, and his long-term goals. So he took radical action. He deleted useless apps, he politely declined a huge weekend party to protect his morning workout, and yes, He even gave up his favorite daily post-lunch gulab jamun. He anchored himself to this incredibly powerful maxim: discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. This quote literally became Ritik's internal mental filter for every single decision he made. Whenever he felt that itch to scroll on his phone or eat junk food, he just asked himself, does this bring me closer to what I want most? I want to pause here for a second and challenge you to look inward. What is your version of Ritik's gulab jamun? Which short-term comfort or mindless habit is secretly sabotaging the long-term success you desperately want? As Ritik finally conquered his schedule, he arrived at Section 4, Practice Daily Mindfulness, learning the art of staying in the present. He had a solid routine now, sure, but he noticed his mind was still constantly anxious. He was always worrying about future projects or stressing over past mistakes. His body was sitting at his desk, but his mind, it was everywhere else. And this brilliantly illustrates what the book says. The mind is like a monkey, always jumping from one thought to another. To tame this monkey mind, Ritik started a daily practice. He'd sit quietly on his balcony for just 10 minutes, simply focusing on his breathing, letting his thoughts pass without any judgment. This wasn't just about meditation, though. It was about pure presence. Mindfulness is giving 100% of your attention to the current moment. So when a massive, stressful deadline hit the office and everyone else was running around panicking, Ritik stayed entirely calm and systematically broke the project down. And even better, when he spoke to his mother on the phone, he actually listened to her words instead of just muttering, yeah, while doing other things. It deeply, deeply improved his relationships. Of course, life always throws curveballs, which brings us to Section 5, Learn from Every Failure, the Stepping Stones. Because despite all this amazing progress, Ritik faced a major setback. He completely bombed a critical project deadline at work. His manager called him into the office and was, frankly, incredibly angry. Ritik went home feeling totally crushed, thinking, maybe I'm just not cut out for this. But actually, scratch that. Instead of wallowing in self-pity, he used the book's teachings to conduct a project autopsy. He honestly analyzed what went wrong. He overlooked small details, he failed to check in with his team, and he didn't delegate properly. He even added a lessons learned section to the tracking chart right on his bedroom wall. He fully adopted this mindset. Failure is a detour, not a dead end. And guys, this shift in perspective was absolutely vital. It removed all the shame of failing and replaced it with raw data for improvement. Because he learned from those specific mistakes, on his very next project, he executed flawlessly. He even earned high praise from that exact same manager. Finally, we reach Section 6, the power of consistency and the immense value of showing up daily. So Ritik had built all these incredible tools: goals, routine, self-control, mindfulness, resilience. But he realized that none of them mattered without the glue to hold them together long-term. So the crucial point is this: motivation gets you started, but consistency keeps you going. Ritik committed to 30 minutes of fitness every single day, regardless of how tired he was or how much he just wanted to stay tucked in bed. He realized that showing up, even imperfectly, was way more important than just a few days of intense, unsustainable effort. And that leads us perfectly to our concluding thought: success is a habit, not a destination. When Ritik finally met up with his old friends, they literally marveled at the change in him. He wasn't that stressed, aimless guy in the small flat anymore. He was focused, healthy, and calm. He proved, for sure, that discipline isn't some temporary punishment. It's a lifelong, deeply rewarding journey. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. You've seen the roadmap. You've seen exactly how it completely changed Ritik's life. So, don't wait for tomorrow. What small, consistent step will you take today to start your own journey? Thank you so much for joining me for this analysis, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.